The Redmi Note 7 is an affordable mid-range handset that serves up some flagship features despite only costing $220. Its large 6.3-inch screen supports a full HD Plus resolution, and with its water-droplet notch, it delivers an immersive experience that's light on bezels. Also worth noting is the fact that the display is both bigger and sharper than the far pricier iPhone XR. The huge 4000 mAh battery under the hood is also encouraging, putting it on par with last-gen flagships such as the Huawei P20 Pro. Unlike triple-camera smartphones, however, the Redmi features just 2 rear snappers. In the hand, the Redmi Note 7 feels much like the Honor 8X, the budget king from 2018, with double the base storage capacity USB-C, more pixels, and a higher capacity battery.
Now let's talk about design. The Redmi Note 7 looks like a lot of recent Xiaomi designs. Edge-to-edge glass on the front and back sits on a central waistband using Gorilla Glass 5 to try and keep scratches to a minimum. In the weeks we've been using the phone, it's escaped any damage. At 8.1mm, it's slim too, and the size is pretty well proportioned, squeezing in a display without excessive bezel and using a dewdrop notch for the front camera. The bezel is a little thicker at the bottom of the display, so it's not quite symmetrical, but that's little to complain about. The ear speaker sits along the top of the display, and the pair of grills on the bottom house the mono loudspeaker and flank the USB Type-C connector, and there's a 3.5mm jack on the top as well. On the rear, there's a fingerprint sensor conventionally placed, with Redmi retaining this older style rather than the fancier in-display scanner, presumably to keep the price down. There's little to complain about from a design point of view. There are plenty of devices more costly than this that don't look any better, so from that perspective, buying this cheaper phone doesn't get you a cheaper finish. So let's jump to display. As we said, there's a minimal notch thanks to a central dewdrop which takes up very little space on the display. The screen's resolution is great, with the 400 ppi density telling us that it's pretty sharp, and in use that's true, so you won't feel like you're missing out on detail. Sure, flagships offer Quad HD Plus resolution, but the slightly lower offering from this Redmi works just fine. The coloration of the display is pretty good too. It's vibrant enough to not raise too many concerns, but the auto brightness is irritating. Frequently, when looking at the phone, it will dim to obscurity, so you can barely see anything. Fortunately, there's a shortcut to turn off auto brightness. Most of the time, it's better to control it manually. Now let's talk about its hardware and battery life. The Redmi Note 7 sits on one of Qualcomm's mid-range platforms. With a Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 processor, combined with 4GB of RAM and 120GB of storage, the Redmi Note 7 sports mid-range power paired with flagship, comparable rooms for your apps and media. This includes things like playing PUBG Mobile in balanced settings. The Redmi won't play so well when you crank up the settings, but we've got plenty of chicken dinners out of it. Perhaps the most exciting part of the spec sheet is the 4000 mAh battery capacity. The phone was easily able to make it through a full day of relatively intensive use and fared well in my rigorous tests. Over an hour of gaming, an hour of screen-off music playback, and an hour of streaming video at 60% brightness, I saw the battery meter drop down to 60%. Software is the weakest part of Xiaomi's handsets. Thus, the Redmi picks up this downside too. The entire device is skinned with MIUI, which sits over Google's Android 9 Pie operating system. MIUI introduces a high degree of replacement and duplication of applications, which a fully functioning Google account doesn't need. In China, of course, Redmi runs MIUI without all the Google functions that those of us in the US or the rest of the world are used to using. The great thing about Android is that you can install or replace things and pick the default apps you want to spare yourself some of the messing around with alternatives that just aren't as good. The Redmi Note 7's dual rear snapper has a 48MP f1.8 primary camera and a 5MP f2.4 depth sensor module. Matched with face detection autofocus, the only features it's missing when compared to flagship dual cameras appear to be OIS and laser autofocus. Despite this, the quality of pictures taken on the Redmi Note 7 is seriously impressive, making it easily one of the best sub-$200 options around. The primary sensor may be 48 megapixels in resolution, but pictures are rendered at 12 megapixels unless you hit the override switch in Pro mode. This lower resolution image benefits from pixel binning, a technique that combines information from multiple pixels to create a better, albeit lower resolution image. In good light, details captured by the Redmi Note 7 is superb. Colors are sometimes a touch overzealous, and dynamic range isn't mind-blowing when HDR, which stands for high dynamic range, is turned off, but you can fire up auto HDR or just leave it on for markedly better results. They have several options in camera like night, panorama, AI, portrait, and pro mode. The portrait mode doesn't allow for refocusing after the shot is taken, but its bokeh effect is subtler too. Nevertheless, it creates a sharp, realistic looking shot. Not surprisingly, middle to low light environments are a big ask for the Redmi Note 7. It doesn't perform badly per se, capturing atmospheric night shots, especially in the dedicated night mode. However, it struggles in low light scenarios with bright spots. As for the 13 megapixel f2.2 selfie camera, daytime shots look good, although dynamic range struggles with backlit scenes. Details in pictures is fair, although it dwindles in low light as noise creeps in. Luckily for selfie fans, the screen can double up as a flashlight, which helps resulting images. Video is recorded at up to full HD resolution and captures a superb level of detail, especially in good light. Stabilization is also solid despite the lack of OIS, although naturally with no zoom lens pinching into a subject results in image degradation. Indoors and in darker conditions, things start to crumble, which is exactly what we'd expect. Irrespective, the Redmi Note 7 still outperforms most smartphones in its price category from both a stills and video point of view. In the end, we can say that the Redmi Note 7 is an excellent all-rounder. It offers superb value and is incredibly easy to recommend thanks to its solid build, great screen, smooth UI, and impressive camera and battery life. That's all for today. Thank you guys and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then hit the thumbs up button and do share it with your friends. Check out the description box below to buy this awesome phone, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more latest gadget reviews.